Hi everybody, I'm John Beilfuss, Executive Chef of Lula's Louisiana Cookhouse here in Owasso, Michigan, in the middle of our pandemic. So today I've got a wonderful recipe for you from New Mexico, the Land of Enchantment, Posole. Let's get right in the kitchen and get going. Here's everything you're going to need to make delicious New Mexican Posole. I've got 2.5 pounds of pork, diced about 1 inch, 1.5 inch pieces. I use pork butt, but you could use any type of pork you have. I've got 6 chopped garlic cloves, 2 tablespoons of oregano. I use Mexican oregano, but it wouldn't make any difference. 1/2 cup of New Mexican chili powder, 1 medium onion chopped, and a 6-pound can of white hominy. When I started to go to New Mexico in 1976, there were 1.8 million residents of the entire state. So there's nobody, it's perfect for social distancing. Our first step is we're going to cover the pork with about 2 inches of water, bring it to a boil, turn it down to a simmer. I'm just going to skim off any of these impurities that float up to the top. Another way you could do this, more Oriental style, this is the way I would do it if I was making Vietnamese pho or something like that, where I want a really clear broth, is you can bring it to a boil like this, let it boil for about 10 minutes, pour it all out through a colander, rinse off the pork, put the pork back in the pot, and just pour new clean water over it. So in New Mexico, it's traditional to have New Year's Eve Posole parties. And I've been to a bunch of them, and it's always a ball. So there's all different kinds of New Mexican Posole. The one I'm making for you today is Posole Rojo. Now, the New Mexican red chili powder, if you can't get your hands on that, if you took like 6 New Mexican red chilies, the dried red chilies, soaked them in water for 20 minutes, put them in a blender, make a paste, that would also get you the red chili in Posole Rojo. You can also, you could use green chilies. And by the way, in Michigan, Costco has great bottles now of Hatch green chili. I would use those. And then you have Posole Verde. So there's lots of different ways to approach it. I've made a chicken one. I add cilantro, green chili, it's wonderful. But this is your basic Posole Rojo, and I sure hope you enjoy it. Morgan and I had a wonderful Posole Verde in Chicago a few years back at a restaurant called Mazik. You may remember Carlos Galen from Top Chef. It was his restaurant, and we had a wonderful time on a Sunday morning. Once we've skimmed this, we're going to go ahead and add our onions, our garlic, our oregano, and I'm going to add about 2/3 of the New Mexican red chili powder. I'm going to add the rest at the end, but I didn't want to make it too spicy for us. And we're going to give that a good stir. So let me say, I love New Mexico, and New Mexico became part of our family. I've got a beautiful niece, 2 beautiful nephews that are a product of our New Mexico family. It's not what many people from the Midwest may think of New Mexico. You think of deserts and white sands and you know, aliens and that kind of stuff. But northern New Mexico is mountains and woods and beautiful and streams, and oh my God, I just fell in love with it. I'm going to turn this down to a simmer, and after about an hour, I'm going to check the pork and see how done it is. It may be done. It can take up to 2 hours to get that pork nice and tender, and then we go on to the next step. I'm going to rinse off this hominy before we put it into the soup. It's been exactly an hour and a half, and I've tasted the pork, and it's done just about the way I like it. So I'm going to add the Posole. Now, in New Mexico, the purists will tell you you have to buy dried hominy, cook it till it pops open like popcorn. I've been making this dish for almost 30 years, and it's awesome. I'm going to give this a good stir, bring it back to a boil, and let it simmer for about another 20 minutes. That's been about 20 minutes. It looks just perfect. I tasted it. I'm going to add a little bit of salt here, and I think we're ready to put it in a bowl. And there's a beautiful bowl of New Mexican Posole. I've topped it with some fresh cilantro. I always put a dollop of sour cream in the middle. Today I had some sour cream that I had mixed with my Boy Wonder's Mescal hot sauce. So I put that in the middle. You can top it with just regular sour cream, and it's gonna be just awesome. Okay, I don't know why this part always gives me. Take 132. Thanks again for watching another exciting episode of Scratch Cook with John. Today's New Mexican Posole. I sure hope you enjoy. It's a great dish. My son Nick is in town from Chicago, and it's one of his favorites, so I made it so I can hook him up with it while he's in town. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and we'll be back again soon. Imaginary Sarah. I said New Orleans like 6 times. Oh, Sarah, imaginary bartender, you're back. Glad to see you. Just, hook me up with a drink. You know what I like. I am troubled tonight, though, I have to tell you. Morgan doesn't seem herself. Try to be intimate. I put on the gloves and mask, and I'm like, hey, hun, and she just seems distant.